Sarah had always been curious, a trait that often led her down dark paths. One evening, her friend Mark mentioned the dark web over a cup of coffee. He spoke about it in hushed tones, like one might discuss a forbidden spell book. "You can find anything there," he said, his eyes wide with excitement and fear. "But there's this one site, the Whispering Web. They say it's cursed." Sarah laughed it off, but her curiosity was piqued. That night, she sat alone in her dimly lit room, the screen of her laptop casting an eerie glow on her face. She hesitated, fingers hovering over the keyboard, before finally typing in the necessary commands to access the dark web. Navigating through a labyrinth of shady marketplaces and forums, she finally found a mention of the Whispering Web. The site was hidden deep, buried under layers of encryption and warnings. When she finally managed to unlock it, the screen went black for a moment. Then, slowly, text appeared, as if being typed by an unseen hand. "Welcome, Sarah. We've been waiting for you." Sarah's heart skipped a beat. How did the site know her name? She tried to exit, but her mouse wouldn't move, the cursor frozen on the screen. The text continued. "Listen closely, and you will hear the whispers of the damned." The speakers on her laptop crackled to life. At first, it was just static, but then she began to hear it whispers, faint and indistinct. They grew louder, overlapping voices, each trying to be heard over the others. She couldn't make out the words, but the tone was desperate, pleading, and full of dread. Panicking, Sarah reached for the power button, but the laptop wouldn't turn off. The whispers grew louder, almost screaming now, and she began to feel cold, as if the temperature in the room had plummeted. Her breath came out in misty puffs, her hands trembling. And then, as suddenly as it started, the whispers stopped. The screen flickered and a new message appeared. "Do you want to see them, Sarah? Do you want to see their faces?" Without thinking, she typed, "No," but the screen flashed, and the words were replaced by, "Too late." The screen displayed a video feed, but it wasn't from any webcam she owned. It showed her room, from a corner near the ceiling. She could see herself, hunched over the laptop, pale and terrified, but something was wrong. In the shadows behind her, she could just make out figures, their faces twisted in silent screams, their eyes hollow and black. The whispers returned, louder now, filling the room with a cacophony of anguish. The figures began to move, inching closer to her on the screen. She felt a cold breath on the back of her neck. Terrified, Sarah slammed the laptop shut and yanked the power cord out. The room was silent. She sat there, shaking, afraid to move. After a few minutes, she dared to open the laptop again. The screen was black, and it stayed that way. The sight was gone, but the whispers, they stayed with her. For days, Sarah heard them, just at the edge of her hearing, a constant murmur that never ceased. She could see the figures in the corners of her vision, always lurking, always watching. She knew they were waiting for her to return to the Whispering Web, and she feared that one day, her curiosity might get the better of her. And when it did, she knew she wouldn't be alone in her room anymore. The whispers would become screams, and the figures would finally show their faces.